Flag ceremonies are a core memory of high school. It is a common sight to see the Philippine flag being raised on an early Monday morning, accompanied by the singing of the national anthem. It has been a tradition to do so since June 12, 1898, the very first celebration of Philippine Independence Day. However, June 12 hasn't always been our official Independence Day, and in this video, we're going to talk about the long history of Philippine Independence Day and what it means to us Filipinos. With every Independence Day comes a nation seeking freedom from a colonial power. The Philippines has endured 333 years of Spanish colonial rule. Efforts to negotiate peace and seek genuine reforms led to an all-out armed revolution led by the Katipunan in August of 1896. Prominent figures during the revolution include Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo, Apolinario Mabini, Emilio Jacinto, Artemio Ricarte, and more. However, due to internal conflict between the Magdalo and Magdiwang factions led by Aguinaldo and Bonifacio respectively, tensions led to the Tejeros Convention of 1897. During this convention, it was decided to form a new government to replace the Katipunan, and its leaders would be elected through a vote. Bonifacio angrily walked out and declared the votes null after Daniel Tirona provoked him. Eventually, this would lead to Bonifacio's trial and execution. The new leader of the revolution was Emilio Aguinaldo, following Bonifacio's execution in Cavite. Now, they pursued the creation of a new government in Bulacan called the Biak na Bato Republic. However, this was only a short-lived revolutionary government, as Aguinaldo and other members of the Supreme Council went into exile, thus briefly relinquishing control to the Spanish government once more. It was really a time of pushing and pulling, with the Spanish taking back control of their last colony in Asia and the Filipinos relentlessly fighting for independence. However, one event would make or break Philippine independence: the Spanish-American War. It would make Philippine independence possible since the war's outbreak caused Aguinaldo to return to the Philippines in May of 1898. And finally, after 333 years of Spanish rule, the Philippines gained independence on June 12, 1898. The Philippine flag was first raised on the balcony of Aguinaldo's home in Kawit, Cavite. Following the Declaration of Independence, the Malolos Republic, the first Philippine Republic, was established in January 1899. For a short period of time, the Philippines was finally able to enjoy its independence and rebuild what was left of 3 centuries of Spanish rule. But, as we mentioned a while ago, one event that would also break Philippine independence was the Spanish-American War, which resulted in American victory. This would have implications for the country, especially during the Treaty of Paris. In October of 1898, Spanish and American officials met to discuss the treaty following the war's outcome. In the treaty, Spain agreed to sell the Philippines to the United States for $20 million. This would mean that the Philippines, just months after gaining independence from Spain, would be under another emerging power in the West, leading to the Philippine-American War in 1899 and American victory. From 1902 on, the Americans employed the approach of benevolent assimilation to justify their control of the Philippines. It was a tumultuous time, and there were several perspectives on the notion of independence. There was one man who was a primary figure during the American period, Manuel Quezon. He recognized the importance of obtaining Philippine independence over a long and gradual period of time, which is why he believed in the 1935 Philippine Commonwealth as a first step toward complete independence. The Commonwealth was a transitional administration that gave the Philippines self-governance while keeping close ties to the U.S. On the other hand, some Filipinos like Artemio Ricarte believed in the concept of transnationalism and coming together with other countries to fight for independence against Western powers. In Ricarte's case, he believed in Pan-Asianism, an Asia for Asians with Japan in the lead. Ricarte and Filipino officials went and stayed in Japan to discuss plans for independence and cooperation with the Japanese. There are Filipinos who sided with no imperial power and chose to organize armed resistance against the Philippine government in the 1930s to push for independence, such as the Sakdalistas. Economic troubles, political unrest, and the belief that the government was not doing enough to address the public's complaints all contributed to the escalation of tensions in the movement. While the movement's goals weren't ultimately met, it did bring attention to the nation's socioeconomic disparities and political unrest. The uprising added to long-standing concerns and disagreements in the Philippines concerning political representation, social fairness, land reform, and genuine independence. In essence, Filipinos thought of different ways to achieve independence, but one thing was for sure: independence meant liberation from all sorts of oppression. An important step in the fight for Philippine independence was the Tydings-McDuffie Act. It gave the Philippine Commonwealth a legal foundation and laid forth the steps needed to achieve complete sovereignty. With its passage in 1935, it granted the Philippines a smooth 10-year transition to independence through Quezon and the Commonwealth government. However, independence became blurred as the Japanese imperial forces invaded the Philippines. In such a short period, Filipinos were placed in an arena full of atrocities, injustices, and economic instability. The sad reality persisted. Worsening conditions made Filipinos worried about the possibility of independence and if the U.S. would hand over independence to a destroyed nation after the war. How would the Philippines recover if we were left to be independent? When would we be able to recover in order to be independent? Should we even be fully recovered in order to be independent? These were the questions that surrounded the post-war era. A year after the Japanese occupation and the end of World War II in 1945, the United States remained committed to the Tydings-McDuffie Act, legislated 10 years ago, that the Philippines would be free and independent. On July 4, 1946, the United States officially declared the end of U.S. sovereignty in the Philippines and declared its full independence. On par with the U.S. celebration of independence on the 4th of July, the Philippines also observed the same date for Independence Day for 16 years until Diosdado Macapagal's term in 1962. Instead of celebrating the day the Philippines freed itself from American colonial authority, Macapagal thought it would be more appropriate to remember the day it first declared its independence, June 12. Changing the date was seen as a means of reclaiming national pride and highlighting the significance of the solidarity and patriotism shown by Filipinos by allowing them to consider the unique journey, sacrifices, and efforts made by their ancestors for the nation's freedom. Finally, RA 4166 was signed into law, officially declaring Independence Day on June 12. Today, we observe June 12 as a national holiday because of the act passed by Macapagal. The story of independence is a story of blood, sweat, and tears. June 12 marks the celebration of the Filipinos' hard-fought freedom from the colonizers, from social iniquities, and from abuses and injustices. In celebrating our independence, we should recognize that there is still so much to be done in order to achieve genuine liberation today. And it should be a stark reminder to all of us of our national identity and our duty as Filipinos to uphold human rights and social justice. How about you? How do you celebrate June 12? Tell us about your typical Independence Day in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you'd like to learn more with us. Thanks for watching.